Here, we live on YouTube, and I am live on the TikTok. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Thursday. Good peak. It's not Thursday, it's Tuesday. See, y'all, I'm already ahead. Uh-oh, y'all, look. YouTube went down. Hold up. Let's put YouTube back up. All right, y'all. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. We are here. We are live tonight, y'all. We are live tonight for the Regulated Parent Live. Listen, over the last 30 days, first of all, let's clap it up that we have made it through June. Thank you, Jesus. But for the last 30 days, you all, I have been committed to sharing a tip a day for it. Started off with raising emotionally healthy sons, and then we kind of merged into good evening, Kathy. I'm so happy to see you. Um, we merged into me just sharing tips for raising, being an emotionally healthy parent, rather. And so tonight we're culminating our series for the month of June with me doing the Regulated Parent Live. Now, this particular program or course that I have taught, I did about a couple months ago in February. I did this in a webinar setting over on Zoom, and it was amazing. There was so much that was shared on that webinar, and this is something that I feel like is important for all of us as parents. Like I've said before, y'all, I'm not charging you for anything. I am not. It's not a okay, once this is over, now I need you to give me anything. Like, no, this is truly me sewing this into us as parents because I know firsthand just how it can be as a parent. I shared this before. And so, for those that do not know me, let me properly introduce myself. I am Dr. Aids. As you guys have heard on these videos for the 30 days, because let me tell y'all something about these 30 days and me saying this as well. It really has been for me to get accustomed to saying that. I am not a person that is title driven, power driven, any of those things. However, it is an accomplishment that I was able to do by the grace of God. And so it was really for me to get comfortable with, hey, like this is who you are, and that's okay. And so I'm Dr. Aids. I am a family wellness practitioner, y'all. So what that truly means is I work with families as I share to break unhealthy cycles. So dysfunction that happens in the home. If you need to reparent yourself, I want to be very clear though, you all. I am not a clinical psychologist nor therapist. Okay. I don't ever want anybody to get confused off that. I move in the lane of consulting and education, program development, though that lane. That is the lane that I move in. And so the regulated parent is a program that I created for the Parent Hub, which is under the Parent Network, which is my organization. And so it is something that I'm very passionate about working with families. When we see the light bulb go off, when I see the light bulb go off with people, it's just like, yes, they're getting it. Now, we absolutely have to do the work. And so I get in the trenches with you, but you still have to do the work. So getting to the root of the matter, why you're responding, why you're showing up the way that you show up. And then if you need, which a lot of times we do need that support additionally with a therapist so that they can help you if you need anything clinical in that matter, you partner with that and we move forward. And so that is exactly what I do. I create programs, educational content for us to understand as parents. I try to break it down as simple as possible so it's digestible, but it's still like, okay, it's sparking you, it's moving you ahead. I have two sons. I have an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old. I started my parenting journey very early, y'all. I was 19 when I started my parenting journey. And that's really one of the propellers that caused for me to move in the lane that I am in as far as family wellness, helping breaking dysfunction, because I grew up seeing dysfunction. I grew up understanding very well, the whole what happens in the house stays in the house. The suppression, you not having a voice, the rejection, the abandonment, all the things. And I was like, you know what? I don't want others to really have to deal with this alone. That was really how it started off, y'all. I was just like, I don't want people to have to deal with this alone. And God in his sovereignty was like, I've placed this in you, but I want you to further it. This is bigger than you. This is bigger than how it started. And so I'm excited for how the Parent Network is going to expand and reach and be a bridge for family healing. So that's just a little bit about me, y'all. I never want to just start talking. You guys have been rocking with me for these 30 days, and I am super grateful for you all. Good evening to everybody that is joining on YouTube and on TikTok. I've just been kind of introducing myself before we get started in tonight's teaching. It is going to be good, so make sure that you have a pen, paper. If you have questions, I am definitely going to give space for us to kind of dialogue around anything that's not clear for you. So make sure that you write that down, so I can go back and clarify anything that you all need clarified for tonight. I said I was going to give it about 2 more minutes. Before we get started, I am on the West Coast, so that's why it's kind of early over here. It's 5:30 here, but I know everybody is kind of spread out, but I am definitely on the West Coast, and I wanted it to be a pretty good time for everybody that was probably Midwest or on the East Coast. You putting your kids down, or are you preparing dinner? Are you finishing dinner? One of the two. But tonight, y'all, we are here. We're here to learn. And so if you are here, you're here to learn. You're here to grow. You definitely, if you're here and you're staying to the end, you're definitely one I know that has been called to break an unhealthy cycle, as I say all the time. And I mean that with everything in me. We are chosen to break unhealthy cycles and build a legacy. I used to think, okay, let me just give you all a little backstory before we get into the teaching. I used to think parenting was aesthetics. Okay, I used to think like parenting was aesthetics, where you dress your kids up, you do all the things with them, you take them places, until I got to the place in my own parenting journey where I started to hit this wall. And I didn't understand why I was hitting this wall. I didn't understand why the things that my son was doing at the time was, as we say, triggering any of those things. I didn't understand any of that stuff, you all. And it wasn't until I started to take the journey and I was like, you know what? You need to talk to somebody, because nobody in my family had went to therapy. No one in my family thought it was necessary to dialogue, to even have effective communication in the home. Okay. Let alone going to talk to anyone else. And so I remember I was 27 and I was like, okay, it is time that we do something different. And that's really what started my journey of healing. I didn't have the language or the words for what it was that I was dealing with as far as the lack of relationship with my mom. But I started to understand, oh, you have a mother wound. Oh, you got a father wound. So you have parental wounds. And I did not blame them. I did not blame them, because I understand that everybody has history. Everybody has history. I'm well. How are you, Layla? Um, Everybody has history. Everybody has a story. Our parents come with something, and and as we realize, like, everybody comes with something, I learned that I needed to forgive. Now, there were so many layers there to that, you all, that I had to deal with in therapy, with the Lord, and in community. And so that's what started my own personal journey of healing. But we are 10 minutes into this live, and so I want to respect everyone's time. And let's get into hating me is like all you do. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, you all, though, if you guys have questions, please make sure that you write them down. If you need me to repeat anything that is said, let me know and I will absolutely do it. Good evening, Alicia. Good evening. I'm glad to see you, girl. Um, make sure you guys share this out. Please, please, please share this with a parent that you know. If you know, I'm sorry that your parents are divorced, Layla. How are you doing though? How are you handling that? Were they divorced in earlier in your childhood? Where were they divorced at in your life? And how is it affecting you? Hope you are well there. But yes, y'all, share this out with a parent, y'all. Share it out with a parent. Tell them we're about to get into some really good things. Well, I hope that you are handling that well and that you shared what you needed to share with your parents, Layla, about how it's affected you. And if they didn't listen, and if they, for some reason, silenced your voice, just know that your voice does absolutely matter. All right, y'all, let's get into tonight's teaching. So, as I've shared, we've been in a series where I've been sharing about raising emotionally healthy sons. But we have to understand that as parents, in order for our children to be emotionally healthy, regulated in any capacity, we ourselves have to be regulated. We don't get regulation from them, they receive regulation from us. And so I just want to give a quick definition of what emotional regulation is. So it's truly the ability to notice, to name, and to manage your emotional state. So, how you respond and how you stay stable under pressure. Ooh, I'm sorry about that, Layla. So, emotional regulation is the ability to notice, name, and manage your own emotional state. So, before we can do this, we need to have that awareness. So, self regulation is under emotional regulation, where it is being able to foster and nurture the environment. So, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And how is what I'm feeling affecting my behavior? That's essentially how you can look at it. I recognize what I'm feeling. I name that feeling. So that is the emotion. And then how do I manage? What do I do? What is the behavior that comes from what I'm feeling? When we do that in a healthy way, we are operating in a level of emotional intelligence. And this is important for us specifically as parents and just as individuals. Let's take the role of parent off real quick and just the role as an individual. I do not know who that is. As individuals, we have to be able to regulate ourselves. We have to be able to learn. This is all things that we learn, y'all. We learn this over time, okay? And if you didn't learn this, this is why we're talking about it tonight. It's important that we, okay, have a good evening, Layla. Um, it's important that we learn this. So we're modeling this for our children, but that we're able to operate in this way in every part of our lives. While parenting is such an important role that we occupy, it is not the only role that we occupy. And if we don't operate with this level of self-awareness and being able to have self-control, then it's going to spill over into all of our relationships. And it matters. I think your name was Raymond. I did introduce myself. You're kind of just late, so you're catching in on the teaching. It matters, number one, because our nervous system is connected to our regulation. So I always say it like this: my nervous system, emotional regulation, self regulation. So all of this flows together. It's connected. Like our fingers are connected, everything is connected. When we are dysregulated in our nervous system, we are not able to properly um, figure out what's happening around us because our body is moving into defense mode. And I call our nervous system, for lack of better words, our alarm system. It is our alarm system. And when that is dysregulated, that is going to control your emotional climate. Okay, y'all? We rocking? Emotional safety builds trust, influence, and impact. I'm going to repeat that. Emotional safety. Now we're going back to parenting and even just relationships, but we're talking about parents tonight. Emotional safety builds trust, influence, thank you, Alicia, and impact. So, trust, influence, and impact. Those are the three things that this helps to build. When we are operating in a regulation, biblically, because I'm always going to add the biblical. Hi, Christian. We are operating in self-control. The biblical context, self-control. So when we think about the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5, we're operating in self-control. So I say this and I mean this with everything in me. Science just proves the Bible. But there is a collision, and I love this, that I'm seeing a lot now, and God has allowed me to be a part of it, where psychology and faith are merging. Because you don't have to have either or. It is both and, because God created all things. All right, y'all? So now that I brought up the nervous system, though, I really want to kind of give you guys understanding for that. And this is not going to be extensive because I am working on a whole separate teaching for the nervous system. Just shameless, not so shameless plug, y'all. That is going to be like a whole course, because the Lord gave me some insight just for myself, but how everything is connected in our bodies, the aches that we feel, the places that we're feeling these pains, and how it's pertaining to our life and our purpose. But that's not tonight's teaching. But just be on the lookout for it, because it is going to be amazing and I'm excited for it. So tonight, let's just break down simply understanding the nervous system, all right? So there are 3 key stages in the system, and there are different stages of our nervous. We have the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's not in my notes, but we absolutely have. Hi, son. Hi, Stephanie. Good evening. We have, thank you for this subscription. We have the parasympathetic nervous system. That's one part of our nervous system, which it is responsible for. And this is just something that I'm pulling up right now, because like I said, this part isn't in the note, but this is for rest and digestion. Then we have the asympathetic nervous system. Let me pull that one up. Let me see. Because I get to moving, y'all. Because it gets good. And I want to connect everything. Let's see. We have the central nervous system. The central nervous system, which is responsible for our body's processing system. That's the one that's important when we are learning about regulatory states. So our central nervous system, the receiving of information, so that is connected to that fight, flight, from freeze mode, which I'm going to be talking about right now. So those 3 areas: the regulated, fight, flight, and shutdown. Okay. Now, what our body does is it detects safety or threat. So the nervous system, as I call it, our alarm system, it detects safeties or threats. So it's a scanner. Our nervous system is our scanner. God built that within us so that we are not always in survival mode. Okay. And we're going to put a pin in that. It's been put in place so that we know how to navigate what we're feeling, what we're sensing, what we're seeing, and how to respond accordingly. When we're shifting between the 3, or the 4 rather, regulated, fight, flight, or shut down, we have to know what that difference is. So the fight part, Good evening, Laura. Good evening. The fight part is when our body prepares to confront a threat. So think reactive, defensive, the controlling part of us. Okay. When we feel like we're threatened, when our children, let's bring it into parenting work. When we feel like our children are disrespecting what we're saying, they are being stubborn and all of those things, we feel like we need to defend ourselves. I call that an ego trip. We all been there. Okay. We all been there. This ain't no shame or no blame. We've all been there. But sometimes it's registering within us as if this has been here before, because our brain does not recognize whether or not I'm talking to my child, I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to a coworker, whatever it is. If our body, okay, if our body has experienced this before, then the response that we're going to give out is to protect ourselves. This is why being a regulated parent is important. This is why training our nervous system and resetting that thing and allowing God to get what's in us out is important, so we are not projecting onto our children the things that are unhealed in us. Okay. I feel myself getting a little happy. Okay. I feel myself getting happy, y'all. All right. The flight mode. Okay. When your body prepares to escape a threat. So an example of this could be when you're threatening. So giving threatening consequences to your children that you really are not going to enforce. So you want to try to implement something that you won't follow through with. But what happens is, again, it's a power struggle. So that thing right there can be a power struggle. So I just want to end this conversation. So I'm going to say something. Hear what I'm saying? I'm going to say something that can damage the relationship, honestly, if we're not careful, because I don't know how to handle it right now. I just want it to be over. Then we have the shutdown. And that it means exactly that. You just shut down. You withdraw, you go silent, you emotionally disconnect. And that is a place where I've been very familiar with. Very familiar with that place of the shutdown, where you are disconnecting from you and you're disconnecting from your child because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know what they need, and truthfully, you don't even know what you need in the moment. So if you walk away, example, walking away like mid conversation, I don't even want to deal with this. You check out. Or we give our kids the silent treatment because we can do that. And when I say the silent treatment, I don't mean like, you tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to pause this conversation for another time because right now I can't deal with this. Or I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret. That's the language of being regulated. But just stopping midway, I don't want to hear what you have to say, not even giving them an opportunity to speak, not even giving them an opportunity to be involved in the conversation. That is a high sign of dysregulation and a for sure, unregulated nervous system. Now, why does this matter? It matters, y'all, because God has given us our children to steward them. Okay? We are stewarding our children. We are not lording over them. We are not here to dictate their lives. We're here to steward them. So scripture says to train them up in the way in which they're to go. And when they're older, they won't depart from them. There are many variations to that, I believe. Train them up in the things of God, but also teach them discipline. Teach them the things that they're going to need in this life so that they are able to handle it. And I understand many of us were not taught this. We weren't given the same grace that we are giving our children. We weren't parented the way in which we are attempting or doing our best to parent as. I understand that. And so that's why tools, when we receive them, we implement them for our household. Because not everything that we receive is something that we need to use. Like they say, chew the meat, spit the bones out. So even with this live tonight, chew the meat, spit the bones out. If it don't apply, let it fly. Now, let me give you some green lights for being a regulated parent. So, being a regulated parent, you pause, you connect, and then you teach. Over these last 30 days, I did a video on that. I don't even remember what day it was, y'all. But basically, when we're pausing, we're getting ourselves together. Okay, that's regulation 101. Whenever you pause, you're getting yourself together because you're thinking about, how do I want to respond in this moment? That should always be the end goal, even in relationships. What do I want the end result to be? Do I want the end result to be chaos and division, or do I want the end result to be peaceful and coming into some type of connection and healthy communication? Agreeing to disagree. What is the end result? When you keep that in mind, when you keep the why in mind, that helps you to then do the next thing, which is connect. What does my child need? And what do I need in this moment? Because parenting is a relationship. It's not a dictatorship. It's a relationship. Yes, they are. I don't even want to just say younger, because you have older parents and older kids and they're still learning this. But yes, they are kind of under us, I guess you would say, like under our tutelage, under our guidance. However, they have a mind of their own, and what they think needs to be heard. As parents, we can't be so quick to shut them down just because we feel like, oh, you don't have as much experience as I have, or you don't know what I've been through. I can't tell y'all how many times I used to hear my mom say that. And it's just like, okay, explain it to me, especially when I was older. Like, okay, let's talk about your life experience. But if nobody gave them the tools that we're receiving, then suppression is what people know. And I know that suppression was what my mom knew. And so for me, I had to learn how to break that cycle. Communication was not the first thing that came to my mind, when, especially having boys. Communication was not the first thing that came to my mind. It was like, you're a boy, I need to try to toughen you up. All of these societal norms, or even sometimes communal things that we hear, and especially in my community, African American community, which are wrong. Boys absolutely should cry. Everybody should be crying. It is a way of cleansing and healing. It doesn't mean you're soft or weak. It means you're human. God gave us all tear ducts to be able to release what we're feeling. Now, where sometimes kids can get overwhelmed, and this is where our job comes in as a regulated parent, is to be able to help them express what they're feeling. If they fall down and hurt their knee, well, the obvious thing is, okay, they're in pain in the moment. So the helpful thing is to say, okay, I see you in pain, let me see it. However you talk to your kids. The unhelpful thing is, get up, stop crying. It ain't that bad. How many of us have heard that saying? Or it has been said to us. Get up, stop crying. It's not that bad. I have, for sure. You fall down, and I don't know how many scrapes I used to get as a little girl, y'all, because I was a tomboy, honestly. It is not that bad. Stop that crying. Don't nobody want to hear all of that. How do we teach our children something differently if the only thing we are perpetuating is what was given to us? So after we connect, so we pause, figure out what I'm feeling, what the situation calls for, then we connect, The connection is that invitation. And then we teach them whatever the lesson calls for. So if you have a teenager, good evening, Zipporah. So if you have a teenager, it's good to see you, girl. If we have a teenager, if you have a teenager, because I have a teenager and then I have a preteen. You have a teenager. Teenagers are different. And anybody that has a teen, I know, y'all know, teens are different. They are in that stage where I know so much, yet I know not much at all. And they definitely need our guidance. And one thing that I've had to learn, especially with my older son, was like, girl, learn to be quiet and listen. The scripture tells us in James chapter 1:19, and this is a regulatory tool from a biblical perspective. James 1:19 says, be quick to hear. Come on, y'all. Be quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger. So this is about the method that I just shared. Pause, connect, and teach. This is biblical, y'all. Be quick to hear, James 1:19. And I want you guys to write that down. Especially if you are a believing parent. Be quick to hear. Pause. Pause. Be slow to speak. And be slow to anger. Connect, then teach. I kind of shared this already, but being a dysregulated parent, you're reacting to everything. Very reactive. And sometimes what is even detrimental with our children is having reactive parents because they don't know how to gauge it. And it's so, one thing that irritates me down is when I talk to parents and in their own childhood, they experience that whole walking on eggshells. Good evening, Divine Design. I'm glad you made it. Is they are walking on eggshells. They had to walk on eggshells. And because they were never taught the skills, then in their house now, their children are walking on eggshells. That is a recipe for disconnection, y'all. Disconnection. Because what it is it goes into my next point. It's a power trip. It's a control thing. You don't have a say in this house. Y'all remember these sayings as kids? You don't have a say in here. You're not the adult. You're the child. You stay in the place of a child. Now, let me say something with that. I definitely advocate for children being in the place of just having a childhood. Okay, I'll say it like that. Having a childhood. Children absolutely should have a voice to a certain extent. Okay, because I don't want to get it twisted. Children should not be arguing back and forth with the parents. Absolutely not. Children should not be challenging authority. Absolutely not. If you are raising your child and they are safe, they have the things that they need, they're not in any harm. Challenging authority can absolutely be seen as a sign of disrespect. But what I like to say to that is get to the root of what that is. Why does my child feel like they can challenge what I'm saying? Because there is a spiritual thing, y'all, called rebellion. And in 1 Samuel, Samuel said it's like this: it's as the form of witchcraft. And so we as parents have to be aware that sometimes our kids are opened up to more than things outside of the home. And so they can be influenced. Influence is a real thing because you can be teaching everything that you know to teach. And they can be being influenced by other people. And this is why we have to make sure that we're helping them guard themselves. This is why We have to be regulated and use discernment. Because if not, like I said, we'll react to everything instead of respond. We'll try to control the situation and shut them down, which is going to lead to us being disconnected from our children. So you're in my house and I'm in the house and we're not communicating, we're not talking, we're not saying anything. No, the devil is a liar. No. And this takes courage, y'all. Honestly, when we're forging new paths that we've not seen before, it takes courage. And we have to ask God to help us. Lord, help me to raise the child that you gave me. Help me to see them the way that you see them. Show me what I need to know about my child. Help me to learn them. Help me to ask the right questions. Because as they say all the time, y'all, parenting doesn't come with a handbook. But there are things that we have access to, especially biblically. And now we're gaining more resources because we're in the age of social media. However, we do need to vet these things. And again, chew the meat, spit the bones out. So healthy parenting definitely starts with being regulated. And it starts with our nervous system. Coming out of survival mode, coming out of fight or flight, and understanding that I can just be. Like I need to just be. I don't need to try. I'm not fighting my kids. We're not in a power struggle, y'all. God gave them to you, not you to them. Well, he did give you to them, but you are the one that is supposed to be the guard over their hearts, souls, and mind. Good evening, Tam. We're to be the guards over our children. And this is why we have to really take a good look at our bloodline, y'all. And this is not in the notes. Like we have to take a good look at our bloodline and trace our stuff down. This is an assignment that I did today, y'all, and I'm gonna give it to y'all. I'm gonna give it to you all as well. I was sitting here and I used to get beat up by the Holy Spirit, y'all. But it was so needed. Pause House of David and then go back to it. It was so needed because he asked me a simple question and he was like, where was the entry point of this mentality that you have? Because here's the thing, we have to be honest about where we are in our lives, and we have to even converse with our children about our story. I have shared this before and I'm going to continue to share this. Like we have to invite our children into our stories. Yes, they look up to us. Yes, we have, again, that level of influence. But here's the thing about influence. If we're not using it in a positive way, even as parents, we can influence our children down the wrong path, aka continuing an unhealthy cycle. So we have to be brave enough to say, this stops with me. Lack of communication stops with me. Reacting, being explosive, argumentative, whatever, it stops with me. It stops with me. And so, thank you for the give, Divine. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm writing things down. Like, where did this start from? And y'all, I went all the way back to I was 7 years old. And I was allowing the Lord to show me things and entry points to where always working came in, taking care of others, and sometimes putting myself on the back burner came in. And through the course of years, therapy, deliverance, all of these things, I have, of course, gotten better. But there are times where it tries to rear its head again. There are times where it tries to rear its head again. And I made a decision today and I was like, okay, we're done. Enough is enough. This is it. Because just because I didn't come from the family that I always, and I'm not going to say always, but that I longed for, that I thought that I was supposed to have, it's going to come from me. Clear communication is going to come from me. My sons are going to be integral. They're going to be respectful. They're going to be honest. They're going to be God-fearing. They're going to be able to enjoy life, and they're going to walk in the purpose that God has given them. Why? Because I'm going to model it. You're going to model this. We're going to model this. And in the places where we need the help, going to ask for the help. Because as they like to say, a closed mouth don't get fed, right? Okay, I need help with parenting my adult children because I didn't do the best when they were. It's okay, Zipporah. You're learning now, and what that looks like, and what you're actually talking about is repairing. You're talking about repairing. So when there is a rupture, and that's another program, y'all, that I created. I'm telling y'all, I'm spitting these things out because God is going to do so much through this parent network. It ain't even about me no more, and I'm realizing that. And so as He gives me ideas, I'm like, okay, Lord, what do I need to do with it? So what you're talking about specifically, Zipporah, is repairing. Something didn't happen the way you wanted it to do. Okay. So you repair, and you start the repair. And this is for all of us. The repair starts through apologizing. Name what it is. Because as an adult daughter, one of the biggest things that I was looking for from my mom wasn't for her to like take me out, and like go get my nails done and stuff like that. I just wanted some accountability. I wanted her to say, hey, I hear what you're saying, and I'm sorry. Every time we get that, it almost is like it closes a wound. And sometimes, to be honest, y'all, we may not even get that. Thanks for the gifts, Tim. We may not even get that. If you dealt with any type of parental wound and they have passed away, or they're still alive, but they can't engage in effective communication with you, what you have to do is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive them, and become who God has created you to be. But the first step of repairing any relationship is accountability and apologizing. Hey, I'm sorry that at this stage that you were in, mom was not the best. Dad was not the best. I had to do it with my oldest son. Because Lord knows, I was a hot mess in the beginning, y'all. I was a hot mess. And I had to go back to him and I had to apologize. And I said, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that certain things that I said to you, even the lack of affection that I withdrew from you, because it was withdrawn from me. And I thought that I needed to make you something other than. Do y'all know that boys are actually more emotionally attuned? They're emotionally attuned than girls. This is scientific, y'all. For real, I did the research on this. They're more emotionally attuned. And so when we damage their spirits and we cause for them to not be able to express themselves and things of that nature, what it does for them is it sends them into that cycle of what has been perpetuated. Don't cry. Don't share how you feel. It's not safe. Oh, oh, Divine, I'm going to get back to your question. Let me finish through this and I am going to get I'm gonna get back to that. Cause yeah, let me make sure I put let me write it down real quick, although I'm gonna remember that. How do I stop trying to please my mom and be okay with it? You know what? We just gonna get into it right now. We're gonna get into it right now. So the teacher's not going anywhere, y'all. We're actually doing good on time. I have about a couple more slides for our regulated teaching because it really goes into what we're talking about tonight. When we're trying to please our parents, it's really the little girl in us. So this is our inner child. Okay, it's little. I'll give my own testimony. That's all I got. It's little Ashley. Little Ashley wanted to connect with her mom. I wanted to understand her. I wanted to. I never had this desire like I want to be like my mom. But I wanted to connect. I desired a connection, and I would do things, acts of service, because I realized that was something that she wanted. So if I do something for you, then maybe I'm going to get something in return. So our relationship was very transactional. It was very transactional until my eyes became open and I was like, wait a minute, this is not a healthy relationship. So I would say that you have to figure out exactly what it is that you want from your mom. And is she able to give that to you? I realized my mom was not able to give me affection. My mom was not able to give me guidance. Um, she actually wanted me to do the opposite of everything. The opposite of everything. She wanted me to roll down the same path that she went into. And what's crazy, or it's not even crazy, y'all, because God makes no mistakes. So, my brother, by my mom, is half Belizean and half American. My youngest son is half Belizean and half American. My oldest son is fully, Black American, whatever else he got in him. I am. My daughter, my mom rather, her daughter is Black American and all the other things. And I remember when I told my brother, like, I was pregnant with my youngest son, like he was about to, like he was about to have a little heart attack, a little mini, because all he saw was a cycle repeating. That's what he saw. Because my mom dismissed his father, although he was abusive. So I understand that. But there was some provocation of that, but whatever. Some provocation to the abuse. But he was abusive. And then my mom dismissed my dad. So my mom essentially raised my brother and I without a father in the home. Here I am. Now, my oldest son's dad, he did the best that he could do, as being a father. He was present. He didn't leave, although he could have. And my mom wanted me to continue in the cycle that she was on. And she would say things like, this is your kid. These are your kids. All of these things. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Just because that's how you operated and the things that you wanted to do doesn't mean that that's how I'm going to operate. If these men want to be a part of their son's life, they are absolutely going to be a part of their son's life. I'm not going to chase nobody. And I did for a little bit because y'all know how it goes. Okay. Y'all know how it goes. And then I came to the realization like, hey, the door is open, but what you won't do is manipulate. You won't say you're going to do something and you don't do it. We're not doing that. And so that is one cycle that has been broken. And so, Divine, like I said, I would ask myself, what is it that I want from my mother? Can she provide that? Through me seeing these cycles, through me just trying to have conversation with her, I realized she cannot provide that for me. She does not have it in her to give to me. And that's okay. And you have to grieve that. That's the last part. You have to grieve that. You have to grieve the thought of not being able to have that relationship. Maybe it won't be now, or maybe it just won't be. Because if our parents won't do the work that's necessary to heal and to become the version of themselves that God created, then we can't do anything about that. And that's what I was just about to say. You cannot save her because it puts more on you. That's it. You cannot save her. And this is for all of us. If any of us have been dealing with any type of parental wound, we can't save our parents. I know there's this thing, and I know this part is like lighthearted sometimes on social media where they say it's hard raising our parents. And typically, they're talking about, being able to parent your parent because they're in older age. But for those of us that really did not have a healthy relationship with our parent, we are not here to save them. We are here to be transformed by God. And then they can partake in witnessing said transformation. And as they witness the transformation, they can ask, okay, again, this will take a level of humility from them, though. And it depends on the parent. Honestly, y'all, depends on your parent on whether or not they want to operate in that humility and say, you know what, I got it wrong. So that's accountability. I got it wrong. or I did the best that I could do, but I'm willing to hear how you feel. I'm willing to learn you where you are now. If that's not possible, Divine, you're going to have to cut the cord. And that's what we call no contact, because you're not supposed to be parentified. And I know much about that. I, yes, it is. It is. I can tell you from firsthand experience, from a lot of experience with saving my mom. My mom has lived with me 3 times, and the last time I said, "That's it. No, no, ma'am," because you intentionally placed yourself in this situation, and that is not on me. And you don't get to disrupt the peace here because you're lacking peace. I can give you resources. I can give you the tools. If you reject it, hey, okay. I'm praying for you, but you've got to figure it out elsewhere. And I was totally at peace with that, because let me tell you this, that is not dishonoring your mother or father, y'all. That is not a dishonor when you cut the cord for enablement, because that's what that name is. It's enablement. When we start to do more for people and then they don't have no responsibility, we're enabling them. And we can absolutely do that with our own children today. If we're not giving them assignments to do, chores to do, showing them how to do certain things, we become enablers. Absolutely not. In my home or within myself. Because what good is it to create an environment of peace and then I'm not resting, I'm not at peace because somebody's here that I really don't want here? That's it, Tam. These people, they're adults, just like we're adults. And again, it is not a lack of love and it's not a lack of honor. When the scripture says in Ephesians 6, honor your father and mother that it may be well with you, that means that you don't put your mouth on your parent. You don't talk ill of your parent, but honor them because they birthed you, they carried you, and they gave you the best that they could. But nowhere in the scripture, y'all, does it say that I need to stay in the dysfunction of another, parent or not. Because when you drop down to the next verse, it says, parents, fathers, rather, do not provoke your children to anger, but rather raise them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. So it's 2 ways. This is why parenting is a relationship. So, Divine, don't take on that false burden. Journal into that. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm looking for from my parent, from my mom? What am I looking for? Does she have it to give? If she does not have it to give, and if she's not willing to hear you, communicate with you, take any accountability, grieve it, pray about it, close the door. And sometimes closing the door, y'all, can be for a season. I had to do it. I've gone no contact with my mom because I have to make sure that the cycle of dysfunction ends with me. And like I told y'all in the beginning, y'all here tonight because you are a cycle breaker. And the enemy would like to make us feel like we're doing things alone. Oh, you're doing this by yourself. Ain't nobody out there doing that. Oh, you're a bad kid. Oh, you're a bad parent. No, you're not. No, you're not. This is why we have to guard our own minds, guard our gates, because he will plant seeds in us to make us think we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And we are. Sometimes we may get off course, and that's okay. Return back, we pivot, and we come back. So, as parents, I want us to understand this. As parents, when we are off, when our foundation is off, everything else falls apart. No, you didn't miss Bible study. Remember, tonight is the regulated parent class. But I always bridge faith in with my teaching because it's who I am and that's all I got. I call that the puzzled parent. When you are off off your rocker, you're unbalanced, you're welcome. When you're unbalanced, you're puzzled, you're dysregulated. So we kind of just talked about this, how our childhood shows up in our parenting. So it shows up in a few ways. First, I'm going to talk about learned responses. Okay, y'all? Learned responses. Put that in your notes. Learned responses. A learned response that we all have even said to our nieces, nephews, kids is, "This is my house. This is my house." Can we all agree that either our parents have said it or we've heard it, that this is my house? And when we exert that type of language and we use those type of phrases, it is exerting our authority. Listen, Alicia, I be like, my kitchen. And every time I say it, because I said it today, and I was like, you know what, Ashley, get that out your head. My kitchen. Like, this is the kitchen for the house. Okay, this is our kitchen. So you again learned responses. And sometimes we don't even think, oh, that it's harmless. We think sometimes like that's not doing any damage. But we never know the words that are coming out of our mouth, how it's landing, how it's landing on the hearts of our children. We never know how it's landing on the hearts of our children, especially if we're saying something like in the heat of the moment. It can land in a very wrong place, and I'll talk about that another day. Learned responses. So what was modeled for you, what was punishable, and what was ignored. So I want you guys to think about those things. Write that down. What was modeled for you? What was punished? So what were you punished for? And how were you ignored? Because what we learned in our childhood, y'all, shows up in every part of our lives, not just parenting. But what happens in parenting is our children are a reflection for us. And so when they do something that we were punished for as a kid, learn response says, how could you do this? You're so, and you fill in the blank. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You just like, fill in the blank. How is that landing? Because how did it land for you? How did it land for you? I was told by my grandmother a lot. You just like your mom. I'm like 6, 7. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Because here's the thing, y'all. There it is, divine. I'm here for the first time. You have been here for a little longer than me. But if the cycle is perpetual and nobody is breaking it, 9 times out of 10, grandma is saying the things that her mama said, so great grandma said. Your mom may be saying the things that her mom said. Grandpa may be saying the things that his father said. Dad may be saying the things that his father said. Words are contractual. Words are contractual, and this is why the divine said it. Life and death is in the power of the tongue, and the scripture goes on to say, "And we eat the fruit thereof." We eat the fruit thereof. So if I'm telling you, you're just like your mom, what is that saying? You're painting her. It's already painted in your heart that whatever she is to you, it ain't positive. So now you're trying to put that on me. So now you're speaking that on me. When we, as women, don't deal with our stuff with our children's father, and our children do something because they look like that baby, they look like that man, and we get to saying out of our mouths, you just like your daddy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. These are things, y'all. These are things that we have to understand while you are upset. Remember, let's go back to what we defined in the beginning. That's dysregulation, and that's hurt. That's hurt. That's the language of a hurt person, because you haven't dealt with what he did to you. So now you're going to deal with your child in that way. Selah. That's what in the therapeutic psychology world we call a trigger. And I define a trigger as just an unhealed wound. So children don't trigger us. Children do not trigger us. What they do is expose the unhealed areas of us. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick, y'all. I want y'all to write that down. Write that down. My child is not triggering me. It's just exposing what's unhealed in me. And so how do we truly heal? Healing is continuous. We don't get to the point where it's just like, I'm done. Now, what healing does, Divine, is it brings an awareness. This is why being regulated, don't you log off. This is why being regulated helps us to understand. And I think you missed a little bit of it in the beginning. Don't worry, I'll recap it for you. Where we have to learn how to pause. Because let's just say your kid says something to you that you don't like. You tell them, you know what? You need to go straighten up your room. You need, whatever you're doing right now, you need to pause. You need to go straighten up your room. I have told you before that this is what you need to do. And they fly back at you. I'll do it when I'm ready. Woo! Now, come on now. We're going to be honest. Your face starts palpitating. Your heart starts beating. Your hands may feel a little itchy because you're ready to hit a little wow. Because who you talking to? Okay, that's the immediate response that we want to give. That's the immediate response that we want to give. But learning over time how to understand the moment and how to disengage in that moment of, I'm not going back and forth with you. What I've had to learn and what I'm still learning and realizing is, okay, when the child is talking back to me about what they're not going to do, notice I said they were doing something. And in the middle of them doing something, you realize that they didn't do what you told them to do. And so because of that, now you are upset because they didn't do what you told them to do. So y'all are both upset because now you're interrupting what I'm doing and you didn't do what I told you to do. So then who's wrong? Because what it creates is this power struggle. Now, who's wrong? Is the child wrong? Or are you wrong? Or was there an oversight on both sides? Yes, I'm telling you, stop what you're doing. Absolutely. And from that, I'm telling you to stop what you're doing because you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do. And so here are the consequences that can happen, that will happen if you continue in this way. So now we're teaching them accountability. So healing, like truly understanding your healing, is an awareness. I understand what I'm feeling right now. I'm being able to name what I'm feeling. And it's not about liking how you feel or what you feel, because the feeling can be negative. It can be negative. Okay. I can feel real pissed. That's normal. How I choose to respond based off of that feeling is what's going to create the next episode. That's what's going to create the next episode. And so, as I said earlier, we have to understand, what's the end goal? What do I want? What is the end goal? And this takes time. This is a process. What's the end goal? Because this isn't just in our parenting, but this is in life. What is the end goal? If I'm engaging in, as I call it, a critical conversation with someone, what is my end goal? Am I going to allow them to speak words and then they bait me in through their words? And so now I'm reacting instead of keeping my composure. Because this is how we learn how to train our nervous system, that I'm safe because I'm composed. I am in control. Self-control. Self-control. Not you say something to me and now it's on. I had an incident over the weekend where there was something that was said to me. And it wasn't even said to me directly. It was very broad in the statement. And immediately I was ready to be like, how? And in what way? And in what world? But recognizing sometimes the tricks of the enemy and how he wants for us to operate, because he uses people, he needs people. So he'll try to bait us in. And I heard everything that he said, and I heard myself in my head, and I said, but we need to keep the main thing the main thing. And so that's what I'm going to say to us. When we, and again, nobody's perfect in parenting. Listen, we're going to have our moments where we fly off, we give it to them. But when we're learning new skills, the way that we get it in us is we continue to practice it. We continue to practice it. So knowing that we're healed is an awareness. I know what I'm feeling. And I know how to move with what I'm feeling. And I'm not letting the feeling move me. Does that make sense, y'all? I know how to move according to what I'm feeling. I'm not allowing the feeling, though, to move me. This takes practice. We are not going to be perfected until the day of Jesus Christ. So we're going to be continuing learning ourselves, learning our children, growing and evolving. That's it. It's the feeling. The feeling is fleeting. And so what I was feeling in the moment on Friday, baby, we keeping the main thing the main thing. You heard it, Ashley? It's okay. Did it hurt my feelings? Absolutely. Absolutely. It absolutely hurt my feelings. But I'm not going to be led by my feelings. I'm not going to be led by my feelings because I understand I'm not going to allow anybody to take me back to a place where I asked God to heal me from, and I have done the work. And that's what we have to understand, y'all. We've gotten to a place where we're doing the work, or we've done a level of work, and so we are healed on certain levels. This is why we have to know ourselves. If I can't handle this in a moment, I'm going to disengage. You know what? I'm going to have to talk to you about this later. Because right now the conversation is not going to go in the way in which it is going to be healthy. That's tea right there for those of us that deal with challenging fathers, challenging children's fathers. I'm not going to have this conversation with you right now. I need to think about what it is that you're saying that is being said. And my friend Tam is on here, and she can tell you, like, before, I'm gonna give it to you. And what you gonna do with it? Okay, I'm gonna give it to you, and what you gonna do with it, y'all? And the Lord had to literally get my mouth together, temper me to understand. You don't need to engage that way. You don't need to engage that way. It came to a point where it was like, if he got on the phone and he was already in an elevated place, hey, listen, we could absolutely have a conversation, but if you're going to be loud and you're going to scream, I'm not having a conversation with you. Because the Bible says in Proverbs, a soft answer turns away wrath, y'all. And so we use that same skill with our children. They elevated, they moving up, I got sons. So testosterone is moving up. I'm not doing this with you. This is what I need you to do. And if you don't do it, these are the consequences. Very plain. They make the decision. All right, y'all? So that is one way that our childhood shows up in our parenting. Remember, our children don't trigger us. The trigger is just the unhealed wounds in us. Now, I want to talk about the difference in disrespect and dysregulation, because sometimes we're labeling my child is so disrespectful. He's disrespecting me. Now, there are disrespectful children, okay, where they're deliberately, okay, because disrespect is deliberate. Okay, I want us to understand that off top. Disrespect is deliberate. You taught them, you've instilled it in them, they know, and they're choosing to do something opposite. That's deliberate. That's disrespect. It is a deliberate action, behavior of what was taught. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that. Disrespect is the deliberate action and behavior of what was taught. Dysregulation, okay, because I want us to understand the difference in what sometimes may be showing up with our children. Dysregulation is an emotional reaction where the child or adult lacks control. That's a skill set. So what we're learning tonight about being a regulated parent is a skill set. Disrespect is a behavioral action. So if the child is dysregulated, it's a deeper thing. It's not just I'm being deliberately not doing what you want me to do. Dysregulation means the nervous system is leading. The nervous system is taking over. So a deliberate disrespect, I'm going to say it again, deliberate action of behavior. So it's a disregard to authority, instructions, or boundaries. The dysregulation, if a child is dysregulated, so let's put it in simple terms. Disrespect requires correction. I have told you not to do X, Y, and Z. So, boom, my 12-year-old. He still is working on, and I'm still working on, but he's still working on cleaning up at the table because he's so ready to get back to the game. So today I walk in the kitchen. Why is there food still on the table? What is this? Why? I don't automatically go to the fact, oh, he's disrespecting my authority. No, bro is dysregulated because he's not focused on what he needs to be doing right now because his attention is towards the game. Do y'all see that in live literally today happenings? The difference. He was not intentionally disrespecting what I said. His attention was on something else. So it was a simple, hey, you need to pause what you're doing right now. Get in here and clean your mess up. What did he do? Got up, cleaned his mess. That's it. Now I added on, you need to be more mindful. When you're done, clean your stuff up. One of the things that I used to say that I hate to do is repeat myself. As a parent, what are you going to do? Repeat yourself. Every parent knows this. You're going to repeat yourself. Now, as they get older, should you be repeating certain things? Not so much. But in the nature and the course of this parenting journey, it's going to be repetitive. There it is. So we have to think about that. Dysregulation, think about distraction. That's perfect right there, Divine. Dysregulation, think about distraction, y'all. Disrespect, think about disregarding my authority. Disregarding my authority. I told you these are the values and the morals that I'm raising you on. So you go into the store and you want to steal, and I didn't raise you on that. And I told you that if you need something, that you can ask me. Now you're disregarding. You're going against what you know. Y'all see that examples? So disrespect requires correction. Dysregulation requires for us to really reroute ourselves. When we feel a little dysregulated, we need to reroute ourselves. Where am I? Where am I in the moment? Again, scanning ourselves. What am I feeling right now? What environment am I in? I know sometimes when we start our day off and we're good, we're calm, we're fine. Then we progress throughout our day and something takes us off our square. We need to go back to that place where, okay, what was happening in the moment that took me off my square? This is why we have to be aware of us. Okay, wait a minute, hold up. You coming over here to my desk and you talking about such and such and who, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't want to hear about that because I got my own stuff. These are we have to interrupt, or as Mother Glenn would say, we got to disrupt the disruptor. Okay, you can't come over here trying to disrupt what I got going on because you're dysregulated and you're disrupted. No thank you. No thank you. No thank you. And then for triggers require that self-awareness, because again, anything that can trigger us simply just means that that's an unhealed wound. And so we want to deal with that part of us. We want to deal with that thing. Why is this still coming up for me? Have I not forgiven? Okay, come on, let's get into some healing language. Have I not forgiven? Because 10 times out of 10, I'm going to go on and say 10 times out of 10, the root of all of the things that are triggering us is the unforgiveness. And here's what I want to say about that. Because I know that there are things that are complex in our lives that we have experienced at the hands of adults at times, at the hands of other kids, and life, period. When I say that we need to forgive, the forgiveness is to release the offense from our hearts. The forgiveness is to release the memory from our minds. So we're not recalling the things that happened to us, because when we start to recall, then it takes us back to those moments and we're not able to truly live. And so forgiveness is not about the person, it's not about the offender. Absolutely, what they did was wrong. But this is why we forgive, and then we can cut loose, cut ties. Reconciliation and forgiveness are not the same thing. And everything does not call for reconciliation. Paul said, if at all possible, live peacefully with all men. Peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, not the same thing, y'all. Okay? I don't want us to feel like they're the same thing. I am forgiving because I no longer want to hold this in my heart. I no longer want to recall this. I no longer want to feel how I'm feeling. Reconciliation can happen if you so choose to want to do that. If you do not, that is fine. You are not a bad person because you are cutting ties with someone who harmed you or hurt you. And having peace is internal. So I want to be able to go to sleep at night in peace because I have already released this stuff. And it will happen over time because forgiveness happens over time. You can forgive on this level. Something else may come up again and you say, okay, God, I need you to help me to forgive on this level. But we absolutely, I believe, this is Ashley's belief, we have to forgive. All right, y'all? We moving along. So, core strategies for regulation. This is the AAA method. This is something that God gave me a couple years ago. The first thing we do is acknowledge. Acknowledge. When I am looking, I need to get to regulation. This is the core. I just want you to think about AAA. Okay, not the people with our insurance, but that'll help. AAA. I need to acknowledge what I'm feeling, and this method can work across the board in your healing journey. Acknowledge what I'm feeling. Acknowledge what happened. Just acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. Then I need to address that. Okay, how did that make me feel? What comes up? What comes up? And then from that, we're taking action. What do I need to do? So after I've acknowledged and I am addressing how it made me feel, what's coming up within me, now I need to take action so that I can live a disciplined life and maintain my boundaries. The AAA method is about being disciplined and maintaining your boundaries. Many of us may have not had any boundaries. We were told that this is what we're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to act. All of these different things. And so now we're learning us. We're in a space now where we're learning us. And we're learning how to be regulated people, not disshuffled, not disoriented. And I believe that that method helps us. I'm going to say it again. Acknowledge, address, and take action so that you can be disciplined and live a life that has boundaries. Because ultimately, these are the things that we want to teach our children. We want to teach them how to acknowledge. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Good night, Divine. I'm glad you got something. Is feeling numb a feeling? Absolutely, Kathy. It is a feeling. And a lot of times when we feel numb, it's generally because we don't even know what to feel. We may not even have language for what we're feeling. You become so desensitized. You become so desensitized to what has happened, to the environment, whatever it is, that you're just like blah. It's like a meh. But what I would encourage you to do is, even in that place like where we feel numb, where it's just like I'm desensitized, I'm tired of this, any of those things, I would ask myself, what do I want from me? And you don't have to have the answers right away, but just sit with that. What do I want for myself? And I have an emotions chart, and I have to look for it, and I'm gonna post it for us, just to give us some understanding of like, okay, is this what I want? Is this how I want to feel? What do I want for myself? Because what we want for us can be a guide for what our children, it will actually be a guide for what our children see. And so the next slide literally is talking about the emotion check-in. So identifying our feelings. And that's about pausing and reflecting. Pausing helps us to identify. Reflecting helps us to process. So when someone tells you, or when you hear about, you need to process your emotions, that's really what that means. When you process your you're pausing and reflecting. You're identifying what the emotion is, and then you're reflecting on that emotion. How did that make me feel? How did I show up in this emotion? If I was angry, what behavior did I display because of that anger? If I was excited, what behavior did I display because of that excitement, that joy? So let's recap, y'all. Awareness. So these are the stages. Awareness is recognizing our emotions. So we practice this through implementing the strategies. And we stay consistent in this. We got to keep practicing this, y'all. We don't just get it one time and be like, boom, I got it. We have to keep practicing it. And it's not about perfection. It's not about being a perfect parent or a perfect person. Let's take away the title of parent. It's not about being a perfect person. It's about being regulated. It's about being aware. It's about being intentional. I can be aware, I can be intentional, and still not deal with someone. Because if they don't want to do their own work, I can't force them. I'm not going to force them. And at the same time, I need to maintain the healing and continue on that path. Okay, y'all? I want us to understand this as it pertains to parenting and really just for ourselves, because I believe that this is a statement that is transferable for every part of our lives. And I wrote this down and I said connection begins when power struggles end. So when your ego steps out of the picture, that's when you can truly connect. So when we're learning to connect with our children, we have to set our ego aside, person to person, understanding what developmental age they're in. If you have a toddler, is yelling really going to do the trick? Like, is yelling really going to do the trick? Is that going to help them to stay calm? Or is getting down on their level, eye to eye contact? And these are things, y'all, I used to work in an ECE center. And I had to learn these things. I learned it in child development, but I mean, real world and then like book knowledge, two different things. It helps you, but experience is such a good teacher. It is such a good teacher. And when you're dealing with a toddler, you trying to stand over them and tell them this is what you need to do and this is how you need to do it, and you getting frustrated, your frustration is only going to lead to them being frustrated more. Even as they grow up. Good evening, Jennifer. Even as they grow up, your frustration is only going to lead to their frustration. I have boys that are taller than me. Literally, y'all. Legit. My kids are taller than me. My sons are taller than me. And so we're going to sit down, okay? Because obviously I can't get on your level. But using a heart connection, okay? What's really going on right now? What are you really feeling? The connection. What are you feeling? So that I can help guide you and that we can have a productive conversation or whatever it is. Even in adults, the adult parent child relationship. When your child comes to you with how they felt about something that you did, whether it was in their childhood, whether it's now, the quickest way to continue the rupture in a relationship is to be dismissive. And the quickest way to repair is to acknowledge. Acknowledge that they have something to say. Acknowledge what it is. Seek to listen, not always be right. That's a life skill. If we could just seek to listen sometimes, not always be right, even though sometimes we may be right. Okay? This is not going to, sometimes we may absolutely be right. What's up, Paul? We may absolutely be right. But do I want to be right or do I want to connect? That's why when ego, power goes out the door, we can connect. So, key takeaways, y'all. Regulate first, lead second. Regulate yourself first. Get yourself together. We are the adults, and we can have big feelings too, because I have them all the time. Okay? I have them all the time. One thing I also want us to understand is we don't need to suppress how we feel either. Okay? Our kids, again, they go out into environments, they go out into the world, they pick up subsets of things, they bring them back to the home. They're testing them out on us, okay, y'all? They're testing them out on us. Okay, how do I do this? Okay, let me see if I do this with my mom or my dad. How are they going to respond? They testing it out on us. Okay, they come back with their subsets of stuff from the kids that they're around. And this is why, as we learn our children, we know, wait a minute, okay, this is really not in the behavior of my child. So they pick this up from somewhere. So regulate myself first. Don't respond to the behavior. Don't respond to the behavior. Get your toolkit, connect first. Okay, what's going on with you? I notice that you are doing X, Y, and Z. I noticed a change in your pattern, whatever that pattern is. Then you can lead. Then you can take charge. You are the foundation. You are the foundation, okay? These are our key takeaways. This is our recap, y'all. We are the foundations. So what we give and what we lay is what's going to be their launching pad. So if we're given attitude and I'm this and I'm the authority and I'm this and I'm that, and you're leaving no room to connect, when they give it back, we cannot be surprised. We can't be surprised. If we're always leading with aggression and anger, and they finally start giving that aggression and anger back, we can't be surprised talking about, where'd you get this from? I got it from you. Like I got it from you. I learned it from you. So this is the important one that I want us to understand and remember. Discern the difference in disrespect, dysregulation, and trigger. What is disrespect? A direct obstruction of authority. Dysregulation, they're distracted. Trigger, an unhealed wound. Discern the difference in communicating with your children. Discern the difference in communicating with other adults. Consistency builds respect. We've got to be consistent with our kids too. Don't say you're going to do something and then do the opposite. Communicate that with them. If you guys are supposed to get together and you said this is what we're going to do, and change plans have to change, don't just be like, oh, well, I'll just get back to it. Whenever I get back to it. No, hey, listen, son, daughter, whatever their name is. I know we were supposed to get together this weekend. Something has come up, but we're going to do it. I'm going to put another date on the calendar for us to do it. Because the truth of the matter is, y'all, our kids do look forward to spending time with us. If we are leading healthy, not perfect, healthy, and we're trying to do what's right by them, they absolutely look forward to spending time with us. Heck, sometimes if we're not doing right by them, because it's just a biological connection that we desire to be with our parents. But as we are being mature parents, as we are being regulated parents, as we're learning to lead and build a legacy worth living, we're going to be consistent because we're going to respect ourselves. We're going to respect our family dynamic. And the last thing, your home is going to change when you change. Okay? Our homes are going to change when we change. If we continue to do the same thing over and over again, the things that were done to us, we're going to continue to get the same patterns that we had before, that we were raised on in our childhood. especially if it was unhealthy. But when we decide, you know what, I need to do something different, I'm going to do something different. I may not know what the difference looks like. I may not know the whole full plan, but I'm choosing to do it different. It's going to lead to a healthy ending. So we have to change. We're the examples. There are students. There are our children. There are the ones that God has given to steward their lives. And they are watching us very closely. Very closely. My oldest son always says, "You're not black mom anymore." And y'all, what he means by that is like, I'm not dysregulated. Okay. That's literally, he defines it as me being like a typical black mom, which it's just like, whatever, boy. But I understand that he means you're not dysregulated. You're not hollering. You're not shouting. You're not swinging. You're not picking the long branches, y'all. Because I don't know if TikTok gonna ban me on that. The long branches, where, because I grew up on that. That's what I grew up on. My mom used to tell me, go pick a switch. And it would be like this thick. Can y'all see that? Because that was her form of punishment and discipline. They are two different things. Punishment and discipline are not the same thing. Punishment fits what you did. Discipline is to train you in the way in which you're to go. So when we go to the gym as parents, we're trying to train our bodies to be snatched or not be snatched. That's discipline. So every punishment doesn't need to be met with a spanking. That's not what needs to happen. We have to learn how to communicate our feelings, our desires for our children. But if we never learn that, then sometimes we perpetuate that unhealthy cycle. But tonight, you guys have learned strategies. You guys have learned tools. It's not going to happen overnight. But I truly believe, and I know from firsthand experience, that when you implement these things, one thing, starting with yourself first, you're going to see the desired outcome. Again, you have to be consistent with it. We have to be consistent with this. So that's the teaching tonight, y'all. That's the teaching tonight. I'm excited. I absolutely love, 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 love this. Okay. As y'all can see, I love this. Okay. I love what God has called me to do with being someone that has gone first and will continue to go first to say, okay, Lord, is this going to work? Do this really work? Why does this feel so hard? Because we have to be honest with it. Although everything that I share tonight, it is going to be valuable and it is useful, it is hard. Because again, when you're talking about breaking a cycle, thanks y'all. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. When we're talking about breaking a cycle, we're talking about dismantling. You're so welcome, Kathy. I'm so glad you were here tonight. We're talking about dismantling systems. And I'm probably going to do, I don't know when, but I can hear it now. A teaching on understanding how to dismantle the system in the family dynamic. Because the enemy studies our systems. He studies. And we have to study too. Hello. We have to study too. He studies our systems in our families. What system is set up? What's safeguarded? What's open? Because parenting is a ministry. It's not just, oh, you got some kids and them kids, oh, they look good and they clothe good and all that. No. No, it's not just that. It is a ministry. This is why we have to guard and teach our children, teach them, train them up, discipline them in the way in which they're to go. Give them the word of God. Teach them prayer. Teach them. If you got grandkids, teach them. because it's real serious, y'all. It's real serious. The first institution that was created was family. And in the beginning, what did the enemy try to do? He tried to disrupt the union that was going to birth family. So yeah, I'm gonna see. I'm going to see you all about that teaching, because yeah, there's a lot of things that I have in my notes. A lot of things that I have in my notes that I need to just, package right and then get it out, because I can't keep it in me. I can't keep it in me. Are there any questions before we are done? Are there any questions before we get off tonight's live? Because we're almost at 2 hours and I don't want to keep you all that long. Okay. I don't see any questions. I know you guys have notes. If you want to watch the replay and you're on TikTok, you can absolutely watch it on my YouTube. It's at the Parent Network, or my name, Ashley Aids. It will come up and you can go back and rewatch it from the beginning. You need to rewatch it to take more notes. Please do that. Let me know. Come back to this video and be like, I use this method and it's working. Like, let me know, y'all, that this is working for you all, because I know it will. And so, Father, I just thank you. I thank you, God, that your people, the family, the parents, God, that we are healing, and we're healing with you, that we're healing within family, and that you are going to provide everything that we need. I thank you for reconciliation within relationships, God, that desire to be reconciled, that there will be open hearts to hear, open minds to receive, God, that there will be open dialogue, clear communication, Father, within families, God, in the name of Jesus, that our ears are unclogged so we can hear and heal wholly, in Jesus' name. Let me see your other comment. Hold on, Kathy. Let me see. Oh, YouTube be YouTubing. Hold on. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. My daughter wants me to go to a therapist. I don't have any like where are you located, Kathy? Because I can get you some recommendations. I know therapy can be through insurance or you can pay out of pocket. So it depends on how you want to do it. If you have insurance and your insurance pays for in-network therapists, you have to go through your insurance. So if you did therapy that way, you'd have to go through your insurance and see the providers that they have for you. If you're paying out of pocket, then you have a whole lot of options. I know Better Health. If you go to betterhealth.com, I believe it is Eastern. Okay, so in Tennessee. Okay, so yeah, if you go to betterhealth.com, they provide a list of therapists, and that's all online. So BetterHealth is online. Let me look, and then I'll email you, because I still have your email. I will email you, but betterhealth.com is the one that I can think of off the top of my head. Girl, enjoy David. Now I have to wait until whenever they decide to put the rest of the season out. But yes, betterhealth.com is the one that I can think of, Kathy, off the top of my head, where you can see the different therapists, what they offer, and depending on the relationship that you're trying to repair with your daughter, it can be family therapy, or you can do individual therapy. So you guys can do collective therapy, or you can do it just yourself and then come together maybe in conversation. But try betterhealth.com. Go on there and see, and then I will gather some information and I will email it to you. All right, y'all. Well, we are done tonight. This was good. Again, I really enjoyed it. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate that. You guys don't have to give your time, but you did. And so I hope that tonight's class, because it's a little mini class, was beneficial for you and that you use this information and you see the transformation that you desire. I will see you all back on Thursday for the parent corner. Yes, on Thursday we're gonna have a parent corner, and I might just share with y'all like the situation that happened over the weekend, because regulation skills was in full effect. So I'll see you guys on Thursday on TikTok for the parent corner. It's 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Everything is 5:30, y'all. PST. I'll see y'all then. Good night. You're welcome.